One of the devices that could be an example of something that you may have in your home, typically it's going to be found in maybe an older home. You may have baseboard heating system. This particular device is a dual check valve assembly with an atmospheric vent. And what you see here is the blue represents the water flow that comes from your home, your drinking water supply, that flows into this device. And then it feeds, and for this device, it would feed your boiler system that does not have a chemical additive, because this is a low hazard device, and if you have a chemical additive in a boiler, that gets you into a different type of assembly that's more of a high hazard. But the water flows in here, what's the blue is representing, it goes through the device, and it goes to the piece of equipment, and in this case, a boiler. And what happens is this device prevents the backflow of water, which has the potential to have pollutants and contaminants from backflowing or back siphoning back in to the drinking water side. What happens is you've got a couple of different check valves in here. So as the water tries to reverse, what it does is it dumps out this vent in the back. So it prevents it from going into your drinking water supply. And this device is a non-testable device. Now here's another type of device that could be found in your home. If you have a water-assisted backup sump in your basement and you're tied into your drinking water supply, you have to protect the water supply from that type of equipment because you're dealing with potentially polluted, contaminated water. And from your water supply in your house, your drinking water supply, the water flows into this, which is called an assembly. And you'll notice the test ports here. So this is a testable device. These are shut-off valves as part of an assembly. And the testing is done in accordance with the City of Novi's cross-connection control program. But the water flows through here, through the assembly, and this would go to your water-assisted backup sump system. Now, should there be an event that creates a form of a backflow, what this assembly does is it prevents the water from flowing back into here. There's two check valves in here, and what you have is a third component in here, which is a vent. And water would flow out of here pretty steadily if you have a back siphonage or a back pressure event that's happening. Now, one of the more typical or common types of devices you're going to see, or I should say assemblies, that you're going to see on the side of your house. This is a pressure vacuum breaker. And this is something that is primarily used on your lawn irrigation system in your house. And you've got your water supply coming in that you're feeding it, and you're going up through the device, and you're coming back and you're connecting to your lawn irrigation piping system. And then you've got the various different heads, pop-ups, misters, so on and so forth. With this type of device, the assembly must be a minimum of 12 inches above the highest end use in all downstream piping. And in this case, it's going to be this mister head here. This particular device works in conjunction with a check valve and air. And when a backflow occurs on this particular assembly, water is going to come back through, and instead of going down here into the drinking water supply again, this little gold dome is just going to be flooded. Water is going to pour out of here, so it's exiting the assembly as opposed to going back into your drinking water supply. One note for this particular assembly is it is a testable assembly. You've got two test ports here, you've got valves, and this is required to be tested in accordance with the City of Novi cross-connection control program. Another very common device you're going to see in a residence is on your common hose bib on the side of your house. This is typically maybe something you'll find on in an older home. Typically hook your garden hose up to it and maybe fill your pool, wash the car, fill the pond. The device that prevents a back siphonage or backflow into your drinking water supply connected to your hose bib, it's called a hose bib vacuum breaker. And in this particular device, there's a series of little holes around here. And what happens is after you screw this on here and you hook your hose to it, if you have a backflow event, water is going to pour just like a shower head is going to pour out of this device. There is a particular component that a lot of people like to install on these, and it's a little Siamese hose connection, and it just screws right on here. But the problem with this is a vacuum breaker, atmospheric type vacuum breaker, is not permitted to have downstream valves. And by putting this type of component on here, what you have is two little valves on here that it interferes with the performance of really what this is designed to do. Another style of hose bib that you might have in your home, you typically might see some of this, something like this on some of the newer homes, but what this is on the top here is kind of a built-in one of these. This is built in. They might call this an anti-siphon or maybe a frost-free hose bib. But this is an atmospheric vacuum breaker, and what's going to happen is water is going to flow out from underneath this cap, and that's going to stop any type of a backflow from your hose that might be in a bucket or from washing your car, from coming back into your drinking water supply. It's non-testable. It's not something you have to have tested. You're just going to want to maintain it and per the manufacturer recommendations for maintenance. One of the questions I'm commonly asked is, why is it important to prevent backflow? And I guess here's a small scenario. You're washing your car. You got the soapy, sudsy water in a bucket. You got your hose in there and you're filling it. And a few houses down, you've got a house fire at your neighbor's house. The fire department arrives on the scene, they're hooking up the hydrants, they're flowing water through a hose, and you've got this reverse flow occurrence that's taking place. And essentially what it's all about is you have that reverse flow, and all we're trying to do, and what it's all about, is to protect this. Your drinking water supply and the protection of it is the most important component of a plumbing code. This is something that you drink on a daily basis, that you use for cooking, that you make ice cubes with, and so on and so forth. It's very important to protect this. And just because you have a fire down the street doesn't necessarily mean that you're actually going to have a backflow. But what it's about is that you have the potential to have a backflow. And you never know, based on the degree of the event that's going on, really what's going to happen. And that's why it's important to prevent them from occurring.